Convoys were surviving, barely. Liberty ships had turned American industry into a conveyor belt of steel and steam. But by 1943, survival wasn't enough. The war's tempo had changed. Faster wolfpacks, longer routes, tighter invasion clocks. The Allies needed a ship that could beat the clock itself. That ship arrived with a new silhouette: a long, fine bow, a raised forecastle, a leaner wake. Inside, a different heartbeat. Geared turbines traded piston thump for relentless spin. The name was a promise: victory. It wasn't built to look heroic. It was built to arrive. Quicker through danger, steadier in rough water, ready to turn beachheads into lifelines. It kept the Liberty's genius: standardized parts, no-frills practicality, but added what late war logistics demanded most: speed. By late 1942, the math had changed. Liberty ships kept Britain breathing, but their 11-knot pace set the ceiling for entire convoys. Escorts had to throttle back. Fuel burn went up, and exposure windows in U-boat killing grounds stretched for hours. Submarines didn't need to be faster, only patient. With wolfpacks coordinating and new tactics spreading, simply adding more slow ships wasn't a long-term answer. At the same time, Allied logistics were scaling from survival to synchronization. North Africa, Italy, and the buildup for D-Day demanded tighter clocks. In the Pacific, routes were longer, seas rougher, and turnarounds had to quicken. A ship that shaved even a day off a crossing didn't just save time. It reduced risk, eased port congestion, and let commanders retask hulls faster. Industry, too, had evolved. Early war bottlenecks in gear cutting and turbine manufacture were easing. Painful lessons from brittle fractures pushed better steel specs, rounded cutouts, and improved welding and inspection. Naval architects wanted a finer hull, a raised forecastle for a drier deck, and propulsion that traded piston thump for smooth, efficient spin. The brief was simple and bold: Liberty capacity with real speed, a standardized freighter that could make 15+ knots, ride cleaner in bad water, and be useful after the war. Not a glamorous Greyhound, an upgraded workhorse that shortened danger and tightened the Allied timetable. That answer would be the Victory ship. The Victory ship didn't rip up the Liberty playbook, it refined it. Start with the hull. Naval architects stretched the length and drew a finer bow with more flair and a raised forecastle. The result was a drier, steadier ride in head seas and less green water smashing over the foredeck. A cleaner afterbody and improved stern-reduced drag, so the ship moved through the water with less wasted energy. On paper, those curves look subtle. At sea, they felt like free horsepower. Under the deck, the big change was propulsion. Liberties used rugged triple expansion engines with that heavy piston thump. Victories swapped in cross-compound geared steam turbines. Think of it as turning steam into smooth, continuous spin. High-speed turbine stages drive through double reduction gears to a single propeller at efficient RPM. You get approximately 15 to 17 knots in service. Not glamorous liner fast, but fast enough to shorten danger and keep convoy pacing tight. Turbines also vibrated less, which the crew's bunks and the ship's rivets appreciated. Feeding those turbines were oil-fired water tube boilers with superheaters and economizers, hotter, drier steam for better efficiency. The condenser feed-water loop stayed the heart of the machine, but designers improved pumps, blowers, and auxiliary engines, so cargo winches, generators, and steering had reliable steam on tap. Structure got smarter too. Wartime fracture lessons led to better steel specs, rounded cutouts, and crack arresters around high-stress areas like hatch corners. More longitudinal strength members stiffened the hull without adding silly weight. Welding practices and inspection regimes matured. Still fast, but less crude than early war crash builds. Crucially, the Victory kept the Liberty's magic trick: standardization. Prefab sections, repeatable outfitting, and interchangeable fittings meant yards could build variations without reinventing the yard. The baseline cargo version could be adapted for troop lift, refrigerated holds, or specialized gear. In short, same kit ship philosophy, upgraded for speed, seakeeping, and post-war usefulness. It wasn't a showroom queen. It was a smarter hull wrapped around a faster heart, purpose-built to make the clock an ally again. Start at the bow on the raised forecastle. The deck here rides higher than Liberty's and stays drier in head seas. Twin anchors sit in heavy hawse pipes. The steam, later electric windlass, hauls chain as thick as a man's wrist. Below the chain locker is a cavern of galvanized links, lashed and chalked to stop a deadly slide in rough weather. Walk aft along the main deck and you'll see the Victory's cargo machine. 5 big hatches with tall steel coamings and layered hatch covers sealed against green water. Pairs of king posts and derrick booms flank the openings. With steam winches and cargo runners rigged between a boom over the pier, and a boom over the hold, the crew can lift crates, drums, even vehicles without shore cranes. It's Liberty logic, self-sufficient loading on a faster platform. Climb to the bridge deck. Inside the wheelhouse, a big spoked helm drives a balanced rudder far aft. The engine order telegraph clicks commands to the engine room. A matching dial below answers back. At the binnacle, the magnetic compass keeps honest company with the gyro compass repeater that points to true north. Wings off the wheelhouse give clear views down the sides for docking and convoy station keeping. Just aft, the chart room with tide tables and plotting tools, and the radio room, a box of glowing valves and headphones where the Navy Armed Guard can copy convoy signals and emergency traffic. Drop one level to the boat deck. Gravity davits cradle lifeboats ready to run at a moment's notice. Carly floats and life rafts line the rails. Officer cabins sit close by for fast access. On the upper deck, the galley bangs out meals for the crew's mess. There's a small sick bay, showers and heads, and quarters for the armed guard, closer to the gun tubs that dot the superstructure. Below, amidships, chilled reefer rooms keep meat and produce cold. Forward are the bosun's stores and carpenter's bench. All the way aft, the steering gear room, a compact forest of rams, gears, and linkages, muscles the tiller against tons of sea pressure. Now the heart, the engine room. 2 oil-fired water tube boilers raise dry, hot steam for a cross-compound geared turbine. The turbines spin at high RPM. Reduction gears tame that speed to turn a single screw. Condensers, feed pumps, turbo generators, oil purifiers, a humming ecosystem that trades piston thump for smooth, continuous power. Less vibration, better endurance, more knots. Wartime fit adds teeth, typically a 5-inch gun aft, a 3-inch forward, and 20mm AA tubs along the deckhouse. The merchant mariners run the ship. The Navy Armed Guard mans the guns and radios. Different badges, one crew, built around a hull designed to arrive. The victory ships arrived just when the Allies were shifting from survive to sustain and surge. In the Atlantic, they joined convoys feeding the invasion buildup and the relentless resupply that followed. Those extra knots mattered. Convoys could pace tighter, escorts didn't have to idle back as far, and exposure time inside the old killing grounds shrank. In battered ports, piers blown out, cranes gone, their self-rigging derricks kept cargo moving anyway. A ship that could both get there faster and work alone on the pier was gold. Across the Pacific, the upgrade felt even bigger. Routes were longer, sea states harsher, and the clock unforgiving. Victories shaved days-off runs from the U.S. West Coast to forward anchors like Ulithi, then onward to the Philippines, Iwo Jima, and Okinawa. Many hulls hauled fuel, ammo, trucks, rations, everything to turn beachheads into bases. Some victory hulls were built out as attack transports, carrying troops and their gear for amphibious pushes under naval gunfire and carrier cover. Threats didn't vanish. U-boats still bit late in the war. In the Pacific, air raids and kamikaze strikes turned the horizon into a question mark. Armed guard crews stood to at the tubs while the bridge kept station and the engine room held steam. The point wasn't to outrun war. It was to shorten the window where war could find you, arrive with the load intact, and leave again before the enemy caught up. A victory felt different under your boots. Less thump, more hum. In the forecastle and after quarters, bunks rattled less, decks stayed a little drier, and the ship answered the helm quicker. It didn't make the ocean kind, just gave you a better hand to play. Days blurred into watches, 4 on, 8 off, coffee that tasted like duty, and a to-do list that never ended, chipping rust, splicing line, tending winches, checking sounding rods in the deep tanks. Drills were constant. General quarters by buzzer, helmets on, life jackets snug, dog every hatch, black out the lights, then stand by the tubs while the horizon stayed empty until it didn't. The merchant mariners ran the ship. The Navy Armed Guard worked the radios and guns. In good weather, they traded jokes across the rail. In bad, they worked as one crew. Helm, engine room, and gun stations moving like a single machine. Through 1944 to 46, over 500 victory ships took shape across multiple yards on both coasts. They didn't match the Liberty's sheer volume, but they didn't need to. The goal was fewer, faster hulls that moved more safely and kept convoys on schedule. Typical yard time shrank as crews climbed the learning curve. Weeks from keel lay to launch, then a focused sprint through outfitting. Boilers lagged, turbines aligned, winches tested, radios tuned. The workforce was the same democratic cross-section that shocked the world earlier in the war. Women in leathers, Dust Bowl migrants, farm kids turned welders, now seasoned, faster, and safer. Final paint, builders' trials, a whistle at the pier. And another VC-2 slid into the channel, ready to turn tonnage into tempo where it counted most. the open ocean. Speed changed the math. Victories tightened convoy pacing across the North Atlantic, helping keep Normandy's supply lines fed after D-Day and sustaining the long push into Germany. In the Pacific, they stitched together an empire of forward bases, Ulithi to the Philippines to Okinawa, hauling fuel, ammo, rations, trucks, and spare parts fast enough that the front rarely starved for want of a freighter. The point wasn't glamour, it was throughput. Every knot saved was an hour less in danger and an hour sooner unloading where it mattered. When the guns cooled, the hull kept earning. Many victories shifted to commercial trade. Others wore gray again for Korea and later Vietnam, moving troops and cargo along routes now etched into global logistics. Their standardized gear made them easy to maintain, refit, and crew. Their turbine plants gave them a steadier, more economical ride than the old reciprocating brutes. A handful survived into heritage. Museum ships where you can still smell the paint and oil, and hear the echo of a turbine room that once drove history forward. The victory wasn't just a wartime sprint, it was a template for post-war merchant design, proof that evolution, done right, can outlast the crisis it was born to solve. War is logistics. The Liberty proved you can mass-produce survival. The victory turned survival into schedule. A longer, finer hull, a raised forecastle, turbines that traded piston thump for smooth, relentless spin, plus smarter steel and mature welding. In the yards, workers forged pace. At sea, merchant mariners and armed guard threaded gauntlets, where each added knot stole hours from U-boats, storms, and bad luck. From Normandy's buildup to the Pacific's island chain, victories arrived sooner, unloaded faster, and sailed again. When guns fell silent, they kept earning. The name wasn't bravado, it was the result. A ship that helped shape how the war ended. And if you enjoyed this, please like the video and subscribe to our channel.